Recording in progress.
Quiet as it's ever been in
Yeah.
here. It's scary. I don't like it.
So, calling to order the Rice Creek Board of Managers regular meeting. It's Wednesday, July 10th at 9 a.m. We're in our Shoreview City Hall Council Chambers meeting place. Let the record reflect that all managers except Steve Wagaman, who is absent with prior notice and approval, are present and excited for this opportunity. Any changes, Administrator, to the agenda?
Yes, staff proposed no change there.
All right, with that, can I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No, say no no's. Okay. Minutes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will move that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting of June 26, 2024.
All right,
I'll second that.
and I'm going to call for a discussion. It seems to me I had something. I have to find my notes.
Well, Mr.
Correction
Chair,
minutes.
while you,
I do have a line 131. Uh, 131 says, he proposed that the answer from staff only focus on the question of subsidizing permits compliance and noted that he was distributed a proposed response. I'd like to strike the word proposed and modify it to say he observed that the answer from staff only focused on. Only focused on. So he observed that the answer from staff only focused on the question of the subsidized permit compliance. It's rather than proposing the staff do that. So with that change, oh, and I line 151 and 52, there's a kind of a lost half sentence there. I would propose we strike that. Subsidized PMPs and all things.
Would you repeat that, please?
Certainly, line 151 and 152, there's half a sentence just sitting there.
So you want both lines struck?
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to do it. So with those two changes, if you would accept that modification.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to accept the amended changes to the minutes.
and I agree.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed?
And Mr. Chair, before we move on, I just want to once again compliment on the person who writes these minutes because they are very thorough
Yes, they are.
and I believe, duly reflect what happened.
Mr. Administrator.
Yes, Board of Managers, next item on the agenda is the annual public information meeting on the district's stormwater pollution prevention plan. We have Will here to lead us through that. I believe there's a script.
Oh, boy, a script.
Perhaps not. Okay, Will,
You have the floor.
Thank you. And good morning, Manager Bradley and Board of Managers. So as Administrator Tomczyk noted here, today I have for you the district's annual MS4 and SWIP presentation. Go ahead to the next slide. Yeah, so to start things off here, there is no board action required today. As noted at last year's meeting, the MPCA is currently in the process of preparing a new online reporting platform that is not quite active yet. It is intended to go live later this year. I believe they are anticipating in November. So at that time, staff will be submitting 2 annual reports for 2022 and 2023. So again, no action today. This is just purely the public information meeting with some key figures pertaining to 2023. So yeah, just a refresher on the district's MS4 general permit. It is federally mandated by the EPA and administered locally by the MPCA. It authorizes stormwater discharge from our municipal separate storm sewer system to waters of the state, which consists of lakes and streams. The district's MS4 is specifically limited to the portion of our 103E public drainage system that is located within the U.S. urbanizing area defined by the 2020 census data. As such, the district is required to develop and implement a stormwater pollution prevention program, or SWIP, that we administer for that, and is something, and we administer our rules uniformly across the district, regardless if an area is in that urbanizing area or not. So the district SWIP is composed of 6 minimum control measures that you can see on the screen here. And these are something that each district staff member plays a different role in, just due to the variety of topics that these 6 control measures cover. So the first MCM is public education and outreach. So this consists of grant programs and technical assistance, which this district addresses through our water quality, mini grant, and stormwater management grant programs. So for 2023, we had 13 cost share projects and 21 mini grant projects. We also do collaborative programs with resource partners such as Freshwater Society, Minnesota Water Stewards, and Blue Thumb. The district also puts out articles, displays materials, and hosts virtual presentations for public use and reference. We also host virtual workshops, attend local fairs, and are involved in the Adopt a Drain program. The district also posts on various social media platforms about the various going-ons within the district. And then we also have the new district website for the public to use to look further to for the public use and to also engage with district staff on. MCM2 is public participation and involvement. So like noted on the previous slide, we host various in-person and virtual events to engage with the public to get feedback on district programs and policies. One of these is one such of these events is the annual public information meeting, which we are holding today as required by this MCM. It's my understanding that ahead of this meeting, we didn't receive any comments, questions, or concerns from the public. MCM3 is the illicit discharge detection and elimination. So this is one of the control measures that the district addresses specifically through one of our rules. In this case being Rule H, which is our illicit discharge rule. So for this, district staff coordinates investigation on any illicit discharge complaints that we receive. Typically, this is usually in coordinating with the appropriate municipal staff, as we have a very limited MS4 jurisdiction on this matter. Staff also uses the MS4 database for GIS mapping purposes, where we can pin those specific areas where those illicit discharges are reported for future reference. And then in 2023, we had 2 illicit discharges reported. One was along ACD 5362 in Circle Pine, and the other was along Briarwood Avenue in Matamita. MCM4 is construction site stormwater runoff and control. So again, this is one of the MCMs that we address specifically through a district rule, which is in this case being Rule D, which is our erosion control and sediment control plans. So under this rule, district inspectors, such as myself, are trained on how to inspect active construction sites, what are key things to look for, and then how to also address potential site issues. And in 2023, we had 64 active construction sites that were greater than an acre in size, a total of 334 site inspections on project parcels that were greater than an acre, and then 139 violation notices sent, with the top 3 common issues being perimeter control, exposed soils, and the storage, handling, and disposal of construction products, material, and waste. MCM5, this is post-construction stormwater management. So like with the previous 2 slides, this is an MCM we address through a specific district rule, in this case, which is Rule C, our stormwater management rule. So for this MCM, we address this through a very robust review process by both staff and the district engineer, making sure that stormwater BMPs are appropriate based on the type of project and are in concurrence with MPCA guidelines. We also make sure applicants, in addition to providing maintenance agreements for permanent stormwater BMPs, that they also address any ditch, drainage, or utility easement requirements that their project may have. And then in 2023, we had 36 permits issued that required a permanent stormwater BMP, and like with the illicit discharge, this is one where we can use the MS4 database to map those locations of those permanent stormwater BMPs. And then there is MCM6, which is pollution prevention and good housekeeping. So this MCM is unique in that a lot of the requirements in it don't necessarily apply to the district's current operations. So to address this, the district has adopted an emphasis on this kind of good general operation and maintenance upkeep of all district facilities, regardless of if they are MS4 related or not. And then in 2023, all 6 of the district's MS4 related facilities were inspected by staff. And then lastly, the district is responsible for total mass daily load reporting. So the total mass daily load is the total amount of pollutants that a water body or water course can accept and still meet state water quality standards for public health and healthy ecosystems. It's when those water bodies or water courses exceed that threshold is when they get added to that impaired waters list. And then in 2023, we have, so here we have the impaired waters inventory map for Rice Creek. And then in 2023, we had 4 water bodies submitted to be removed from that impaired waters list, those being Bald Eagle, White Rock, Golden Lake, and then both basins of Island Lake. And staff did receive confirmation that those applications for removal have been received and approved. So yeah, and then to summarize here, so again, no annual reports are due at this time. They'll be potentially due later this year, at which time staff will submit those for 2022 and 2023. And then, as noted, RCWD administers our rules uniformly across the district. The district boundary is currently in the process of being updated. And then regarding the 2020 census data, the 2020 census data is now available. From staff's review, there does not appear to be any significant shift in the urbanizing area, but MPCA will be contacting any municipalities that were previously not in that urbanizing area to let them know of any potential new requirements. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Are there any questions, Will?
Well, Mr. Chair, I have two comments. I've heard MS4 for quite a long time, and this is the first time I have seen what it actually means.
You haven't read closely then, because
I guess.
tell you every year.
Municipal separate storm sewer system. So of course, MS4, that's one. And then your last slide, Will, about the urbanized area. So, like, I know we're doing the boundary map of Ramsey County, but this is within the watershed as the municipalities expand. They take a look at doing the borders?
Yeah, so it's something that the MPCA oversees, and it's staff's understanding. It's something that kind of depends. It's based more specifically on the population size.
Mm-hmm.
So once a municipality reaches a certain threshold, is when it gets considered as part of that new urbanizing area.
So then the MS4 responsibility shifts to the city and out of our boundary area? Is that how I understand it?
So yeah, again, our MS4 is just specifically for the public drainage system. For a municipality that is in that urbanizing area, they are required to develop and implement their own SWIP for their MS4 systems.
Our MS4 will grow as the population grows.
No, our MS4 is just to the ditches. That's what it is.
But if we have ditches, do we have ditches outside the urban area?
No, our whole area is urbanized. It depends what you're going to define urbanized as. If you're just talking about population, that's one definition. Another definition can be whether or not you have urban services such as sewer and city water. But our ditches, our whole area, the municipal, the district is in the metropolitan area, and so I think all our counties qualify as by population, and all of our cities have adopted rules. There's a time, of course, when this transition took place, which you're talking about, but we've passed that. And one of the last things we did here a couple of years ago was to make sure that every one of our cities, all 28 of them, had a stormwater management plan. That's another checklist thing that they have to have. And then this becomes a time for us to make that transition where we're not involved in directly as regulatory with permits and inspections.
Where they have the opportunity to adopt our rules and move forward.
Yeah.
Well, that's your interpretation, Mr. President, and I don't think that's quite what the statute says, but we'll agree to continue that debate at a later time.
All right.
The engineer has something to say, Mr. President.
Chris.
Yes, so to address Manager Wynette's question on that, so, there are certain cities in the district that are not considered MS4s. One of them would be Columbus. If at some point the population adjacent to Columbus or within the city of Columbus grows enough, they would potentially be considered to be part of the urbanized area according to the federal definition that the MPCA follows. And at that point, then the district's obligation would likely then expand to the public drainage systems that are within Columbus. Right now, our Columbus, or our ditches that are in Columbus aren't considered to be MS4 outlets. But if Columbus were to become an MS4, then I believe our ditches in the city of Columbus would also meet that threshold. And again, that's really kind of the obligation we have from a federal and state standpoint, but realistically we administer our programs throughout the district, whether they're in the urbanized area or not.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anything further? Questions, comments?
Yeah, very nice report, Will. Thank you.
Nick?
President Bradley, I think it might be a good idea. It maybe seems nonsensical, but it is a public information meeting to ask if there's any comments from the public that we would be
Absolutely.
taking in.
Clearly, there's nobody in the room who would comment. Is there anybody online who might have a comment? Hearing none, I think we can close the public hearing. And thank you again, Will. That was a good presentation.
Thank you.
So what's
All right.
next?
Moving right along.
Yeah.
Well,
President Bradley, the next item on the agenda is open mic. If you'd like to canvass and see if anyone is here for that.
I think we've already qualified for that. Clearly, there's no one present. There's nobody on, appears to be no one online either. So we will proceed to the next thing.
Next item on the agenda is items requiring board action, which is the check register.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the check register dated July 10th, 2024, in the amount of $107,496.81, prepared by Redpath and Company.
And I will second that. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, none. Nick, this takes us what, to Minnesota Watershed 2024 request?
That's correct. And these are items for discussion and information in that Minnesota Watershed sent out their annual request for potential resolutions. I did include it in the packet here. We always provide this to the board and get you thinking about what you might want to put forth as a member of Minnesota Watersheds to their annual resolution protocols. You'll see within the packet on page 41 of the board's packet is the active resolutions, and then also those that are set to sunset or come off the list. This body of work establishes what Minnesota Watershed's framework will be for its legislative platform, which is also in there as well. That's on page 45 is where it starts. So the Legislative Committee of Minnesota Watersheds puts forth this document. The resolution process that's introduced here as a part of it is to help frame what those items in total would likely be in the coming year. So these would be voted on at the early December Minnesota Watersheds membership meeting. So at this time, perhaps you don't have a specific matter, or perhaps you do. But in either case, we can bring this back to a future workshop and take any of your input and work with Kendra, Communications and Outreach, to develop the resolution and present it to the committee.
If my recollection is correct, the items that we had concern about last year that we put forward were adopted.
That is correct.
So we don't have a carryover list of things that we want to bring forward. Are there new things that anyone thinks that we should request the Watershed Management, Minnesota Watersheds Organization to lobby in favor of or against? John?
Mr. President, this is the annual request for resolutions, and I'll
Correct.
make my annual request to repeal the Wetland Conservation Act.
Yeah. So,
Since Minnesota is the only state in the United States that has such a law, and for our district, it's really causes a lot of difficulties. And with the recent Supreme Court decision concerning the waters of the United States and regulatory actions, we're kind of out of step in more than one step. So with that, Mr. President, I'll yield back the floor.
Nick?
Manager Bradley, I think you're correct that those things that the district independently put forth in the past remain on the active slate of resolutions. One item that is set to sunset is on page 44 of your packet, second item from the top, 2019-01, which is to streamline the DNR permitting process. I believe there you had an interest in making sure that some efficiency at the DNR was established and then maintained. Perhaps that's something the board would like to make sure remains on the table. You'll recall that we do have a number of discussions with DNR taking place, trying to move through their permitting system.
Obviously, getting the DNR to act would be fun. It would make our life much better. I see no harm in asking that be resubmitted.
Yes.
Anyone
Very
have
good.
any comment on that one?
Well, Mr. Chair, you probably won't get any argument from the other watersheds about that from comments I heard at the Minnesota watershed meeting.
So that I proved that demonstrated that I wasn't sleeping. There is the 2019-06 opposed legislation that forces spending on political boundaries. That was a defensive act designed to address particular legislation. It's not a positive act on our behalf seeking to do something. The others are positive acts. I would suggest that we don't need to raise that issue at this time. Obviously, if it ever occurs again, there's no question about where the Minnesota watersheds would stand on that issue, and we'd be able to quickly take actions. So I'm not proposing we re-up that for live activity.
Very well. President Bradley, Board of Managers, we can bring back a draft of 2019-01 regarding the DNR permitting process. You are correct. This is simply a framework, and obviously the details of how the matter comes up and how it might be addressed remain to be seen. And at the time that occurs, the powers that be at Minnesota watersheds would kick into effect.
Anything else? Comments, concerns, suggestions?
All right.
It would be a very short meeting.
Thank you. So, with that, President Bradley, Board of Managers, next is the District Engineer update and timeline.
Chris, anything?
Sure, Mr. President, Board of Managers, I got actually a couple of different items I'll note. One is that we've worked through our contractual stuff on Ramsey County Ditch 4, and it appears that the contractor will be getting started sometime mid-August. So we're working with them to coordinate activities ahead of that time period. The other thing I'll note is that tomorrow there is another drainage work group meeting. I'll be attending that. A couple of interesting topics at that meeting. One will be a presentation by the state wetland representative for Bowser to talk about the changes in statute related to the Wetland Conservation Act from the last session and the rulemaking that will be occurring along with that coming up here related to the Wetland Conservation Act. And I think he'll specifically try to target his discussion toward how that affects drainage. So that should be some interesting and lively discussion, I would imagine. Another interesting topic that'll follow will be a representative from the DNR that will talk about the changes in the statute regarding public waters definition and how DNR is intending to implement that change that was legislated. So they're going to have that discussion there. And again, that's very impactful to drainage in general. So I can imagine there'll be lots of comments from folks and questions of the DNR there. So two interesting topics. and I'll report back what I find out at a later board meeting.
Sure, you make great progress. Any other, well, let's see what we got next then. Anyone have any questions to Chris about his budgets and his status on the important projects? All right. Administrator updates.
Yes. Board of Managers, we had a good discussion on the 2025 draft budget at the workshop. Those updates are underway, including the communication outreach and the mini grants increase. I'm looking to pull that within Fund 30 as well as portions of the other rest of the budget, but no increase in the overall. Information management, we added $10,000 to the district-wide model program for the software conversions that potentially go up, so that was an addition. Thanks to Manager Robertson for the email on the MPCA grant. I haven't heard any update yet, but that's obviously a revenue source that we'll want to represent in our budget should we get an answer there for Jones Lake. Also working to get the water management district balances accurate. There's an accounting matter there that I need to deal with, which is on ACD and Oak County Ditch 5362, and to reallocate the stormwater outfall work that we did with that project back to the general levy, just so that the WMD, the Water Management District, which is your special levy, those funds are exclusive for ditch work. So we'll back that out. Working with Redpath today, confirming some of our audit balances that are the foundation to, here the point in time where we have the utmost accuracy, and then use that to project forward. And once all that work is done, we'll be noticing the public hearing for August 14th. We have that notice in preparation here to get that done. And today also we're continuing the interviews for the technical field assistant. So things are buzzing along.
Any questions of Dick? John, do you have any updates?
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I was contacted by Councilman McCarthy from Birchwood concerning the plan or agreement or whatever it is, package that's supposed to go for the Halls Marsh Privy Lake or plop project. Apparently there's now one of the pipes in the city of Birchwood's park has been broken, and there's a question of who's going to be responsible for the repair costs. That seems to be the continuing question here all the time, is who's responsible for what. So I understand that the staff was having a meeting on Monday afternoon amongst themselves to work on this agreement that would be sent forward as a package. I did attend the Minnesota Watershed District's executive meeting, and our two of our Metro representatives reported that they had attended functions in the metropolitan area. One of them had attended a Coon Creek, Sand Creek celebration about the clean water. And of course, in our area, our close friends up at Comfort Lake, Forest Lake, had taken Bone Lake off of the list, delisted it, so they had a delisting party, and they had invited the local representatives, senators and representatives of the House, the county commissioners and mayors and such. And of course, the Metro representative was there for the Minnesota Watershed District Executive Committee, and I suggest that when we take ours off, we do similar. Invite all the people that we can, especially at Bald Eagle Lake, since it's all three counties, but we have a small lake in Washington County, for example, and another one in Ramsey and Anoka. So it's a very important opportunity to to talk to the folks down there and also ask them for money. Of course, never miss an opportunity to ask them for money. Then finally, in the workshop on Monday, we talked about the budget items, and I really question whether the district has authority to collect budgeted money under the regulatory program for permitting and enforcement. We've had this discussion for several months now, but I would just mention it again that I don't think that the district has, that's a $1.5 million budget item, and not all of that is it becomes a duplicative business. As I've cited the state statutes before, I'll add another subdivision to it. That's 23. And it all gets us to the same place that where there isn't an absence of these rules in these municipalities, that the district doesn't need to have another inspection permit and such go on. And so to collect taxes for that purpose, to me, seems to be a lack of authority to do that. And with that, Mr. President, I don't have any more contributions.
I don't have any updates.
So, Nick, I heard Will, I should have asked at the time, say that our request to have those 4 lakes delisted was approved by the PCA. Are they now delisted, or when is the time to throw the party?
I would say the time to throw the party is now. Those efforts are in motion by Kendra and Matt in our office. The invitation to the elected folks and otherwise agency staff has been made, communicated to Kendra. Hopefully they'll join us. How exactly we celebrate those things physically on site remains to be seen, if we'll have a little get together and that sort of thing. As noted, they're in multiple communities, et cetera. But things are being planned, and we'll update the board on those. Certainly.
Mr. President, so we have 4 lakes in 4 rather spread geographical areas, and so I would think that we could have one party at.
Depends on who throws the party.
We are.
Because obviously Bald Eagle Area Association has a real interest. They've got an October 7th annual meeting.
You took my words right out of my mouth. I was going to suggest Bald Eagle because it's all 3 counties, but I mean, and they have a nice Ramsey County Park area there, you know, and all of those things. But it's just a suggestion. I mean, to have a celebration, for example, for White Rock Lake, way out in the very eastern part of the district.
I'm going.
Is I don't think there's too many folks that would join me at the horse farm there. You know, I mean, or the berry patch.
Are there pony rides? If there's pony rides, I might go.
There are later in the year when we have the pumpkin sales. But anyways, that's all my suggestion. That's all.
President Bradley, Board of Managers, all very good ideas. I know that some of our communities have their own summer events that at this time they're considering how the delisting might be involved. So City of Circle Pines, I think they have some summertime fun event, and this would be a portion of that. But in any event, maybe the take-home message is that because all these communities and all these bodies of water are within Rice Creek, that at those events, certainly we can recognize the one specific in the geographic area, but then all the success throughout the watershed so that if someone goes to one but not the other, we're echoing a broader message.
So I have had one discussion already with the Bald Eagle Area Association people, and of course, I said to them, you know, you guys put a lot of money into this directly, put a lot of effort. They kind of they went around and got more than 85% of the citizens to sign a petition to tax themselves. Mm-hmm. A lot of personal effort went into all of this, and they have a right to celebrate themselves, what they've accomplished, because it's their own fundraising.
Yes.
This gives them an opportunity to say, see what we've done, and this is what we want to do in the future. We need your money. So more celebrations, the better, I'm sure.
Very well.
Okay. So I think that's all I had.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Kind of piggybacking on some of the comments that Nick made about the MPCA grant, just takeaways from our workshop. I kind of volunteered myself to look into two separate items, one of which being the MPCA. Senator Kroon's always a great ally to the watershed, simply because he has watershed experience and he represents a majority of our area as well. So he did provide some direct contact information, and I copied you on that email as well, Chair Bradley, so I know you are well aware. But for our other colleagues, just so they're in the know, he did provide some direct contact to individuals at the MPCA who advised that within the next couple of days, so hopefully by week's end, you will have some concrete information on who was awarded the stormwater resiliency implementation
Can I hold my breath?
grants. Listen, like I told Nick, if you want to poke the bear with the senator. That typically helps a little bit. So waiting on information on that. And then the second thing that we dialogued in the meeting was the need for additional vehicle storage for the watershed. So I did reach out to the broker or the agent responsible for the adjacent property. There were some follow-up questions that were asked regarding the square footage or the amount of vehicles needed to be stored. So we'll be following up once we receive that information to try to solve the issue of vehicles being vandalized and whatnot, just being out there in the open in the parking lot. So working on that as well. So I just wanted to provide that follow-up.
Fantastic, thank you.
You're
Thank
most
you.
welcome.
Anything else by anyone? Needless to say, I will just observe that John's views of the law are his own, not mine. I believe not our lawyers. He's nodded yes with me. He agrees with me. It's not his view either. So enough said.
And
for now.
Mr. President, I agree, but in the past, when you guys have been on the opposite side, you've lost.
Not on this one. Somehow the absence of our rules would be noted.
Not the absence of the rules, Mr. President, the absence of enforcement and permitting of those rules.
How about a motion to adjourn?
A motion to
Second.
adjourn is adopted. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
You ever